I'm Terence Angtuaco. By profession, I'm a gastroenterologist. I'm based in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was born here in the Philippines. My parents are ethnically Chinese, but I was born here, I lived here, and then I went to the States when I was 26, and I've lived there ever since. And so other than being a doctor, I'm also a husband and father of 3. My oldest child is a boy, and then I have 2 daughters. I'm now an author of 2 books. They're published. One is called Divine Intervention, the other one's Soul to Soul. But I was never a writer. I was a martial artist. I'm a 4th degree black belt in Taekwondo. And then I dabbled in Jiu-Jitsu, I did Krav Maga, and then I did boxing. And then I also play tennis a lot, and I play pickleball. So those were my passion before I started writing a book. So I'm a gastroenterologist, so I deal with digestive diseases, but I'm also a liver specialist, so I'm a hepatologist. So I used to be a professor before I went to private practice. So now I've been in private practice for over 20 years. My role as a physician gives me the platform and gives me the material for me to write on. I gain a lot of insights from dealing with people. And so as I deal with them, they talk to me about their pain and their suffering and their anxieties, their worries. And so it makes me gain a lot of insights. In fact, a big part of my second book was based on conversations with a lot of my patients. And then even my first book, when I was talking about my spiritual journey, there were a lot of stories that I included in that book about interactions I had that depicts God's intervention in their lives, more unusual circumstances, right? So, as a medical doctor, I was in academics, so I was a professor for 3 years. And even before that, I was publishing medical articles, book chapters for medical books, but not like non-medical stuff, So yes, I have training in writing medical stuff, but that's more as a scientist. I write like a scientist. But I've never written a book. I have no idea how to write a book. I had literally zero idea how to even start. So anyway, so we had this neighbor who's actually Filipina, and she had an aunt who's a nun. So we got to meet them and became friends. And so when she found out that our daughter was sick, she was always praying for us and ministering to us. And then one day she went to a conference in Texas, and she met this priest, Father Ralph Jones, who's supposed to be a healing priest. So he's known to pray over people, and patients miraculously get healed. So when this nun, her name is Sister Mary, so when Sister Mary met Father Ralph at a conference, she was telling him about my daughter, and she asked him to help pray over my daughter, hoping to get a miracle because she was very, very sick. She was near death, literally near death. No, so this priest told the nun and said, ask me, the father, to call him the next day at 7 o'clock at night, 7 p.m. So while we were in the emergency room, suddenly I realized it's almost 7 o'clock. So then I need to call this priest. So I called him while I was in the ER. And then, so first he was very nice and talked to us and said, God loves you. And then he said something like, God's allowing your daughter to be sick to prepare you to heal the sick. So he didn't know, he had no clue I was a doctor. So I didn't understand what that was about. Then he said, oh, and by the way, you're gonna be writing a book, not for any financial gain, not for your personal glory, but for God's glory. The amazing thing is, I just told my wife at that time, like maybe an hour or 2 ago, I said, you know what, maybe I should write a book about this whole thing, because the whole circumstances were so difficult and so beyond normal circumstances. I said, maybe I should just write a book about what we're going through. I want to write a book purely for other people to see what God has done for us and to give Him glory. So that was the beginning of how I ended up being an author.